Hey everyone, this is Steve Galata with Brutal Resonance. I have a very special guest today. One of my favorite modern industrial goth whatever acts, Lynette of Bestial Mouths. Lynette, how are we doing today?
Hello, everyone. I'm alive.
So I didn't want to get up this morning. I had to stay late at work. I got there at like 8:30, didn't get home till 7, and that's a 12-hour shift almost. And a lot of people are just like, I work 14-hour shifts. And I'm just like, I don't. I'm not built for that.
Yeah, my partner works really long shifts too, and so I can see that too. But yeah, I'd only slept like 6 hours, but he does RC cars, a race today. So
Oh,
it's like,
really?
we're going to get up early and we're going to like cheer you on. And me and the dogs are just like, hey, and we got up, but little dog was like, I am not getting up this early.
Yeah, no. On my weekends, it's like I sleep in, and my sleep in time is usually 6 o'clock. That's late for me in the morning because I'm an early morning person. During the week, I get up at 5. I walk my dog, and then I go to the gym at like 6 in the morning, and then I'm at work. And so when I sleep, I sleep till 6, and then my wife comes in the room because she usually sleeps on the couch because I snore too much, and and then
I'm a weird sleep like too.
yeah. And then my dog comes in the room, and then we have like a cuddle puddle for like, a half hour maybe, and then I gotta get up and start
Oh,
moving because I just don't like laying there most of the time. So that was my morning. Same thing every morning, but it's fun.
sounds good though. Sounds nice.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah,
So
I've been told I'm a really weird sleeper too. Like, even in my dreams, the screaming never stops is actually really quite true. I talk, I scream. I like have known, like, people have told me, and I'll feel them move my arms at night because they'll be like waving in the air.
yeah,
Like, I'll move completely off of the bed. And like, one time I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what happened? Bed, it's not by the wall, and stuff like that. And then I wake up in the morning, oh, I'm just on the corner about to fall off the bed.
yeah. I remember the one time I used to have bad. I don't know how to describe them. They were sleep twitches, but it was less twitches than like I was fighting someone. Like because I would actually I've been taking martial arts for the past like 11, 12 years. So like, so like when I'm sleeping, all of a sudden I just start throwing punches and kicks. And I remember the one time when I was like, I want to say 20, 21 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning, so I was barely awake. But all I knew was that my foot was flying through the air, right, like fast and hard. And then my big toe hit the fucking wall, and I started laughing and crying at the same time because when you first wake up, like everything that hurts more. That's exactly how I felt, and I would just lay there for like a good 5 minutes, like I don't know why this happens. So
You're like, did I just really do this? Yeah.
yeah, and same thing happened with when I first met my wife, who was obviously my girlfriend at first. We would like cuddle, and sometimes we would take a nap, and like I would have my arm wrapped around her neck, and I would start like punching her, like
Yeah.
light taps, and I would choke her sometimes. So she got used to just laying next to me and just like defending herself while we were napping. And, and
So good.
she would tell me about it after she woke up, and I was just, or after I woke up, and I was just like, well, why didn't you just wake me up? And she was like, well, you were sleeping. I was like, but I'm hurting you. So
I know. What we do now too is because I switch like that too and do all these things, and
yeah,
apparently my feet they can do. It's like we have like a few minutes. We're like when we get in, hello, okay, separate now. I'm like, get
yeah.
away.
I think I, I think I get it from my dad a bit though, because my dad's the same way. Like he twitches when he sleeps, and I remember he told me we used to have when I was a kid we had a beagle, and she was adorable, but she always slept at the foot of my parents' bed. She was a mommy and daddy's girl. So when she was sleeping there the one night, my dad was twitching, and he punted her right off the end of the bed, and she fell. And like,
Oh,
luckily she was tangled up in the blankets though, so the blankets went with her, so she had a soft landing. But
yeah.
yeah, still, she was large for a beagle. She was like a 60-pound beagle. They fed her too
Oh.
much, so luckily the cushioning was there. But now, um, we're just gonna go on random topics here. But since we were talking about dogs, I learned that you like to rescue animals, right?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Animals are my reason for being. Actually, I had studied fashion design and graduated with that and was living in New York and was kind of just getting disenfranchised with it and everything. And I was like, I really love animals. So
Hmm.
I reached out to all these nonprofit rescues, and one that wrote me back, I started working with them. So I started fostering. I started working at a doggy daycare training school. And ever since then, that's like, I don't do it full time for work, but
Hmm.
that's what I love to do. So yeah, I've had tons of fosters. At one point, I had like six. And I had some extra money one time, and I was like on a list of all the red light dogs that we could put to sleep. So I went and got a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, well, we've had some feral kittens we found. I have two rescues right now. So yeah.
Yeah. We have technically I would call them three rescues slash adoptions, but they were never like abused or anything like that. You know, they were actually had decent livelihoods. Um, we have my one cat, which we call a toasty marshmallow because she's white, you know, a darker brown and like a tan color, and
Oh,
her name's Amelia. We found her because my wife was looking for a cat, and she found her because Amelia was returned to the shelter, and the reason being was that they said that they never saw her, you know, and I was just like, and we both said like she just needs time to adjust to her
yeah, that's a
environment,
cat.
you know.
Yeah.
So we adopted her, and you know, for the first 30 days, it was true. We didn't really see her that much. You know, she came out to eat. She got more friendly with us as time went on. She didn't like our big dog, you know, but eventually she got used to the environment, and now she, when I'm in the office, you know, doing stuff for Brutal Residents, writing articles, she comes up to me and she starts yelling at me because I'm not petting her. So.
Yeah. A tour manager who's a close friend of mine, she's in Sweden. She just adopted two black cats.
Hmm.
And while we were on tour, she's just like watching. They had a camera set up, so she's slowly watching one of them who's been hiding the whole time, coming out a little bit and stuff. And she was so sad because like she's like, "Oh no, look, my boyfriend's getting to pet her, but I haven't yet." She just sent me a video like, "I finally pet her." So yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah, it's funny too because like my wife wanted the cat the most, right? And she wanted Amelia the most. And we already had two other adoptees. We had Mason, who's our dog, and then we had Jeff, our cat. And she wanted another cat, and funnily enough, the cat that she wanted wound up becoming best friends with me instead. But it's also reversed too because we go to a local shelter called Awesome, and it's over in Stroudsburg near me because I'm in Pennsylvania. And when we went looking for the first time we went, or the second time we went looking for a cat, I was just like, look, I just want to take a look at the dogs, right? I just want to see what they have. So we walk in, and there was only two that were cat friendly. There was an older, what was he, husky named Ranger Rick, who eventually found a home, but we couldn't have him because we got 3 flights of stairs and a 10-year-old dog with 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah, no,
No.
not good.
Then they were like, but we also have Mason, and Mason literally just got dropped off like 6 or 7 days prior, right? So we walk into the kennel, and I just see this dog who just got neutered with a cone on his head, and I see his blue eyes, and he's a pit boxer mix. And as soon as I saw him, I was just like, "We're taking him home. We're not
Yeah,
leaving him
that's
here."
one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we wound up taking him home, and the dog that I wanted is now best friends with her. So.
that's the way it happens. I adopted a dog when I was living in Berlin,
Mhm.
and it was funny because I'm in Berlin and I get a dog there, and I got somehow she is a Chihuahua, uh, Yorkshire Terrier mix. I'm like, how did I go all the way to Europe and get a Chihuahua? I don't know. But anyways, but it was supposed to be my dog, and
Mhm.
actually now lives with my ex because she adopted him. Like, and I
Yeah.
was like, you guys even look alike. And even now, the two dogs, the little one's my partner's dog, and she loves me. And
Yeah.
then the kid is the one I decided because he rescued her, but he didn't adopt her.
Mhm.
I decided to adopt her as mine, but she's obsessed with him. So I was like, well, guess we got to stay together for the dogs.
Yeah, and the third adoptee that we have, his name is Jeff, and whatchamacallit, when we got him, it was a funny story because you know my wife again, she was looking at the cats, and she was just like, I want to get another one, and so she's looking, and she's just like, which one do you think is cutest, right? Or she just showed me them, and I was like, I want Jeff, you know. And it was partially because of the name, you know. You
The name,
can't. Yeah. So we find out that Jeff is whatchamacallit, already getting adopted, right? And I tell her flat out, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna find the people who adopted Jeff, and I'm gonna beat them up, right? Just joking. And
yeah.
my wife's like, yeah, okay. The very next day, my wife gets a call from the adoption center, and they're just like, hey, Jeff's adoption fell through. Do you want him?
You're like, it's meant to be.
And the funny part too was my wife just came up to me that day and she's like, "What did you do to those people?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I completely forgot about it. um, but yeah,
That's so good.
yeah.
Love it.
When we got Jeff, he had no whiskers, so he burned them off somehow. He was getting into something, and they
Oh
got
yeah.
burned off. And we should have known he was trouble then because he's still that way. Just
Yeah,
consider him
yeah,
as
you're like,
trouble.
"Ooh." No, I had one. My first dog that I actually adopted myself because up to then had all been fosters, but she just couldn't tell if her tail had been cropped
Hmm.
or like she was born like that. And later on, I realized I don't think it was cropped. I don't think it was born like that. This dog gets into trouble all the time, and I have a feeling something probably happened.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Like out of the three, like Amelia, the older one, she's the most well behaved cat I've ever seen in my life. She's
oh,
very sweet. She's very kind. Um, and then Mason is the one who's middle of the pack. Like sometimes he's a doll, just nice and restful, but then he'll just get the zoomies, and then he chews on his bed because he's an anxiety chewer. If nobody's around, he's gonna chew on something. Like
yeah, yeah.
right now, my wife is out to eat with her sister, and Mason's somewhere in the house. I don't know where, and I'm kind of nervous, but I'll find out
Be
what he
like,
did after.
what's Mason doing on? Yeah.
Exactly, but we'll find out later.
At
And
least
then,
Mason's not chewing on like himself because I had a rescue that was an anxiety chewer. When I
yeah,
first got it, it's like a huge hole
ooh,
and it chewed. Yeah.
that's bad. Yeah, I've never seen that before. Um, but and then there's Jeff, and Jeff doesn't do any self harm. He just gets into stuff he's not supposed to. He'll eat the dog food. He's constantly trying to jump on the chairs in the kitchen, and he's knocking those over because he's top heavy. So it just kind of he jumps in the chair, just kind of go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, enough about the animals. Let's get on to a bit of Bestial Mouths. And I'm not sure if you knew this, but I always called you guys Bestial Mouths because that's how I thought it was pronounced up until now.
Um, like I said, it's
Yeah,
it's both. Both are correct. So it's
yeah.
been correct.
But I mean, I don't want to dive into like a whole entire history here because I mean, you've been in the industrial scene, the goth scene. Actually, that's a good question too. What do you consider your band to be? Or do you consider more on on the industrial spectrum, the goth spectrum? Because most likely, like especially in modern days, when I get promos for a lot of like bands anymore, the major thing that people try to advertise themselves is industrial dark wave goth, and it's just like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think because those are kind of the most popular, I guess,
Yeah.
genres right now that are kind of more trending. So it's why people try to use that. Um, the truth is, I don't know what genre we are truly in. I've never tried to fit into one, so that's
Yeah.
probably part of it. But I just consider us like modern dark music.
Yeah. I mean,
As simple as that to me.
yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, even back on like, Heartless, which I think is I haven't had a chance to listen to the new album in full yet. Obviously, I just got it today. So, but my favorite album of yours so far is Heartless, and when I first listened to that, I didn't really consider you guys, dark wave. I consider you more on the industrial, even the tribal spectrum, because your drums sound exactly like that, very tribal, very, I don't want to say pagan, but sort of pagan in that sense too.
Well, I think the tribal thing is an element that's in all of our stuff always because I
Hmm.
completely love it. And just the rhythmic element of
Hmm.
it. I think that might come from my history of like being Puerto Rican,
Yeah,
but also I just love the idea of like a trance like state.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that is something that runs through.
yeah. And you mentioned, you're Puerto Rican, and you said that kind of seeps into your music too. Do you have like a history with your culture in that sense, where you like discovered and researched into the type of music that was classically from Puerto Rico?
Not necessarily, but growing up, my family, we always had parties. There was always music. There was
Hmm.
always live music.
Yeah,
Like we'd always have like, drums, percussion drums, like playing around like
yeah,
in the house and stuff like that. So it's just something I've always grown up with. And I didn't realize until I got a little bit older that when I go to like friends' houses, like we're having a party, I'm like, well, where's the musicians and where's the music and singing,
yeah,
dancing? That wasn't everybody.
yeah.
So it's not anything that I know, like have like researched heavily into, but it's just always been there.
It's basically your childhood, just now in
Hmm.
the adult form. Yeah.
Hmm. Hopefully, yeah.
Cool. But yeah, your new album is coming out on August 11th, and I have it behind me. I'm just gonna pull it out. I'll pull out the CD since that's a bit smaller. Um, it's called Rot In My Skin. And I think the rot is stylized as if it's supposed to mean something, correct? Like ROTT.
ROTT, exactly. It means Road of Thousand Tears,
And
which
what
is the last song on the album as
gotcha.
well.
And what does that mean to you?
Uh, it's my story. It's my journey. It's my life. The whole idea of the album as well, it plays on In My Skin. It plays on the idea of, oh, look, I'm finally comfortable in my skin. I know who I am. But it also plays on that I am trapped and captured in my skin. I can't take anymore. This is like, I'm, you know, just trapped in it. And then, so Road of a Thousand Tears is, yeah, just my story, my journey, and everything I've been on.
Gotcha. And is this a journey through like kind of like you said, you're trapped in your skin and you're kind of come to accept who you are. Is this kind of exploring a lot of any like sort of trauma that you've been through?
Yes, definitely. If you look at like, definitely starting from the In Shrouds EP, that was the first album that I had done alone without my ex-husband, who we had we started the band together.
Hmm.
So it was my coming out and just going through all of it and just it took a long time to really find myself again, figure out who I was, and just be comfortable in coming into the world. So that you have resurrected and then this one is okay, here I am now, and this has been my journey, and I'm still growing, still figuring out who I am, but I am who I am, but
Hmm.
I'm still kind of like stuck and still wanting more and still kind of confused with
Yeah.
life.
And yeah, you said you started the band with your husband, now our ex-husband, I'm sorry. I remember actually going back when I first discovered you guys, and I was just like, I wonder what you guys started at, how you guys sounded in the beginning, because I think my exposure to you was Heartless, and that's how I found you guys, and that's how I fell in love. So I went back into your discography, and I saw this, what was it, more noise rocky, goth rocky sort of stuff that was going on.
Yeah, I first started doing music actually. I don't have no history of actually doing music besides loving it and
Uh-huh.
going to shows and stuff like that. And he had a solo project and got asked to play a show. And he was like, "Hey, will you help me?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure, but I don't know what I'm doing." So
Yeah.
we started out with me, playing like one note bass lines, guitar lines, some
Hmm.
synth stuff and whatever. Eventually, he was like, "You're going to the front for like vocals." But yeah, I think the earlier stuff was more influenced, probably like most, yeah, more probably maybe death rock, post punk kind of things.
Hmm.
The first project we did was African Grays, and then we were living in Atlanta. We moved to LA,
Hmm.
and we had started another project called Swift Wings with a couple other people. And then finally, we were just like, you know what? Let's start our own.
Yeah.
Because we were always afraid and felt like we needed somebody else to be in it that, either people knew that did music and they had, reputation, and I didn't know what I was doing really.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how we started.
Gotcha. Now you said that In Shrouds was the first I think that was an album or an EP. I forget. I'm sorry.
EP.
EP. Yeah,
EP.
I was leaning towards EP.
Good memory.
uh, that was the first EP you did by yourself after you guys split. Did you have any worries about the direction of Bestial Mouths after he left? Did you think that it was going to kind of fall apart without his influence in it, or were you more confident?
I was definitely terrified.
Hmm.
I did have his consent though, because that's another thing. Like some people probably wonder, but he also said to me, he's like, "You are the heart. You kept this going. This is your love, your baby, and I don't want to see it end." So even to this day, he's decided that it still lives on.
Yeah.
But no, I was terrified. Like I said, I'd only ever done music with him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is me on my own. Like, what am I doing? How am I going to do this? And even now, like I say, I don't really sit down and go, I'm going in this direction and I'm going to sound like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, terrified really. And then just insecure about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And once you released your solo work into the world, did your worries kind of die down? Because I mean, obviously the reception was pretty damn good. I mean, I think we gave that EP either an 8 or an 8.5 on the site. So
well, of course, always it's not all me. I have, my producers behind, and that
Yes.
one was amazing. But no, they didn't, and that's one thing. One thing that like basically this like my work is showing you too. It's like, and I feel a lot of us can relate to that. Never feeling good enough,
Hmm.
and never feel like look at me where I am now. It's also play on that like where am I? What have I done? I'm nothing. There's not anything there.
Yeah.
But then like you look back at the trail and yes, you have these experiences. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
juxtaposition with that. But like even now I'm going through the same thing. Like, this new one is about to fly into the world as
Yeah.
well. And you know, the outside world has no idea, but my partner was saying to him once, I was like, does it ever seem weird like when I talk about things and I'm not trying to seem like this or what, I'm just jealous. He was like, no, I see the truth of what an artist's life is really like. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be that. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I actually used to have a lot of anxiety when I used to write reviews for Brutal. When I would say from when I first started, even until like 7 or 8 years into it, I used to get nervous because I would be like, "Holy shit!" Even when it came to this is true. Even when it came to you guys, I was like, "Oh my god, the holy shit! These guys are kind of big, and I'm getting their promo."
Oh,
Big for the industrial scene at least. You're not worldwide famous, but you're well known. So when I wrote this review, like sometimes I would scrap a review 3 times before I actually finished it because I was like, I want to make this as good as I feel the album is, and I always felt like my writing was shit. And, but it's the same feeling. And now it's kind of like I came up with the idea in my head, like I kind of forced my perspective to be, look, if I like an album, I like an album. I'm going to say what I have to say. I'm going to put it out there, and if somebody disagrees, great for them. You have your own opinion. Go say it.
yeah. And I mean, you can hear from like on our side of stuff too. It's like we really cherish people like you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why we do it is that it touched somebody else,
Hmm.
and that they had feelings and emotions to it. And everyone is going to have their own opinion. And that's another thing that I play on in the album too, as well. Like you can't be everything for everybody. Just figuring out where you stand
Yeah.
and being comfortable with that. And for me, what started changing a bit is that I would just look at other people doing it and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm not saying I'm everything. I'm not saying I'm great. I'm not, but everyone feels. And, in a way, it's like, who am I to do this? But who am I not to do this
Yeah.
at the
Absolutely.
same time? So that's kind of how I look at it. And recently on the last tour, I started noticing we have more females in the audience, which makes me really happy.
Yes.
And that a lot of them come up to me and said, thank you. Like you have inspired me, given me some confidence. And to me, that's why I'm doing this as well. As a female and a minority, even when we first started, we used to hide me because it was like, oh, just a girl doing this. But I'm like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not just a girl.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel as if and I don't like to stereotype audiences, but I do feel as if like the industrial scene, at least I would say up until the 2010s was very male dominated,
Okay.
and a lot of the female acts that were out there were either posing as like a front woman, even if they were doing more than just being a front woman. Even if they were behind the programming, the instruments and stuff like that. They were always posed as either a sex icon or just a vocalist, and that was it. So,
Yeah, exactly. It was really hard when we first started too because we played with a lot of noise acts, a lot of industrial. It was a really male focused thing. So one, it was kind of uncomfortable, but two,
mhm.
yeah, the judgment that you would get. I remember playing the show one time, and it was around the time when I was like, you know what, I want to wear what I want to wear. I want to make cool stuff to wear and do this kind of thing. And they were like, oh, look at Lady Gaga,
Mhm.
all kind of like talking stuff about me. And then after I played and I wasn't Lady Gaga, they were all like, oh, maybe. Or you would get, because I was a girl, they expected me to sound a certain way, act a certain way. You could be good if you would just. Um, so that's another thing that kind of actually pushed me to keep going in a way, be like, no, I want people to do what you want to do as a female. Like, don't let them put you back. But it's
Absolutely.
hard, and it still happens.
Yeah, I do feel as if though the modern industrial audience has become a lot more accepting, and a lot of those people who the elitist attitude is starting to get booted out a lot more, and I'm starting to see in the modern industrial scene that a lot of
I'm
people
so
with
happy to see that, and I hope it keeps going.
yeah, Me too. Because when I first got into the industrial scene, I used to see a lot of that type of stuff, and I was just like, I don't get it. If you like the music, just say you like the music. You know?
Yeah, I never understood that either. And the whole elitist thing, I never understood. And like, how we're all here because we like the music and we're bonding on that, and that's like an
Hmm.
experience. How can you care what someone else is wearing or looks like, or
Yeah.
maybe they don't know this, but you should tell them, and now they do, and they're probably excited.
Yeah, and I always attribute that even like I remember there was this one act a while back that it's a male female duo very popular. I won't mention their name, but I remember them stating something like whenever they went to a show, even though both of them were equal parts of this band, the dude was always one approached about everything from the sound, the lights, the mixing, and all that. And he was just like, we're both part of this, and she knows more about this, and they were always just like, I don't believe that. So
Yeah,
it was an issue.
that happens. I've had that lots of times with sound people, that
Hmm.
they kind of just ignore me or like talk over or whatever.
Yeah.
I think what started to happen with my ex was because a lot of people saw my face more, they would come up to me more,
Hmm.
so it was kind of, and one of the reasons too that we didn't do a two-piece really was we were afraid of getting typecast into that couple type thing,
Yeah.
and it being like, oh, okay, so that's one reason. And I realize now that was also a fear of ours, and we were pigeoning ourselves into another thing too,
Yeah.
um, as well.
So, well, let's get off that depressing topic for now. And
I'm always going to turn in the dark.
yeah, I want to talk about your because we were just talking about your music. I actually want to talk about your voice. Because one of I think your most powerful aspect, the second most powerful aspect about Bestial Mouths to me is the drums. I think your drums are phenomenal, and without those, I don't think the act would be as good as it is. But I think that the number one thing that makes your act so recognizable is honestly your voice. Um, I was just talking to someone else about Bestial Mouths, and I said, there's a lot of acts out there that say, "Hey, we're witchy" and stuff like that, and I was just like, "No, you're just dressed like you're goth. You're not really witchy. You're more goth rocky or post punk." But when I hear you, you sound like a siren. Something that like you could hear in like on Halloween night in the woods. You know, you said you
Yeah.
weren't trained really musically. Where does your voice come from? Is it just natural?
Yeah, I was never trained. I can't read music. Even to this day, I don't really actually know how to write a song or what I'm doing, or even what maybe a lot of the correct terminology is to explain things.
Hmm.
I don't really know where it came from. It just, from everything I've listened to. And for me, I looked at it more doing music as art
Hmm.
and the voice as an instrument and a
Hmm.
way to try different things. So that's just kind of what I do. I mimic a lot of what I hear.
Hmm.
So maybe that's part of it too. I mean, but I love like flamenco, and I love like gypsy singers and their emotion that you really hear in something. So I try to convey that.
Yeah, because I want to say that your voice also has a range that is very rarely seen in industrial music. A lot of people in the industrial field, when they sing, they either have to distort their vocals, play around with them digitally, which I imagine you do a tad bit, but a lot of it's natural. And either that or I don't like to shit on the scene because I love industrial music, but a lot of industrial vocalists just suck. Like they can't sing. And that there's a huge difference between your Bestial Mouths and others as well.
Yeah, I guess like sometimes when you're trying to be more a genre, I guess a lot of
Hmm.
times, yeah, there is a sound that people are used to with the vocals, so they do that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But since I've never really tried to do that, I just like to do things that sound cool. Like I love reversing the vocals because I feel like it's more like weird, and every now and then pitch shifting, or sometimes,
yeah,
yeah, like love the weird highness.
yeah. And when you sing into the mic, as I said, I always imagine that you sound like witchy. Do you keep that in your head when you're singing, or do you just kind of like go with the flow, whatever you're feeling at in that moment?
Honestly, I pretty much just go with the flow.
Gotcha.
That's kind of a thing too when I start working with someone, if we're doing a collaboration or whatever, and I'm blending vocals and lyrics. Um, I'm like, is because to me, I feel like there's everything sounds pretty different. Like I'll call it like this. I'll be like, this is the post punky song. This is the
Yeah.
trancy song. This is the So when people ask me, I'm like, well, what did you hear that you liked, or was there a certain direction you wanted for this? Because I know oftentimes when I get stuff and I give it back, I don't think it's what they thought, because I'm like, well, that's what I heard,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I do remixes, a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm like, that's what I heard. So,
Gotcha. And I think we glossed over the new album, but we're gonna go back to that now, because we just, as I said, we just kind of go over all over the place. One question that I think I've asked you in written interviews before is, what is your favorite song on the new album and why? That is one of my favorite questions to ask.
my favorite song on the new album is the actual Road of a Thousand Tears,
Okay.
Rocked, the last one. I sing in both English and Spanish,
Okay.
which is the first time I've ever sang in Spanish. I'm not completely fluent in Spanish, but it's kind of how I talk with my family and stuff.
Okay.
So that's really personal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is what I call like an anthem type song.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it has the darkness and the scars, but it has a slight bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that song in the very beginning, when someone played it for me, I was like, this is it. And like, I just got the wave and just did the take of it. And I was like, okay. And I obviously have changed a lot within that, but
Yeah.
I felt it so much.
Gotcha. And would you say the trajectory of the album, because I know you said it's like a roadmap kind of your life and your history, would you say that it's kind of like has bumps and bruises, but towards the end it comes more bright?
Maybe in the order that we put it in, actually, I think it does end up working out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like what it sounds like, but it wasn't completely intentional like that. For this album, my thought was I really wanted to create something that got stuck in your skin. So that's why I have my lyrics that are more like they're more repetitive. I feel like there's more catchy tunes that will really kind of get stuck in your head. I wanted everyone to be able to kind of dance to it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times in the past, we did a lot of distinct starts and stops with stuff.
Yeah.
This one, I wanted it to be like, you're in with it, you're dancing with it, it's stuck in your skin, you're going through the motions still of life.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it's like, oh, I'm just doing this, the motions of life. But then also, oh, wait, no, this is actually cool too. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So that was also a thought on it.
Yeah. I kind of feel bad like when people say that you want people to dance to the music, because the last show, I don't go to shows too often because I do not stay up late. I'm in bed by like 8, 9 o'clock. So it's dangerous for me to be on the road at that late, and I respect that. But I went to the Unconvention last year in New Jersey with a buddy of mine, and all these bands were on stage, and there was a couple that I really enjoyed, but I don't dance, so I was just kind of in the crowd like this, just staring at the people on stage, and I was like, man, I hope I didn't like bum them out or anything. But
that's another thing I always say as well, because I've heard some people like after we play or went, dance on this. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to tell somebody how to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Everyone's different,
mm-hmm.
and it's an experience that takes them. So some people want to dance and move dancey, like you can stand there and just watch it and take it in. Whatever you want to do. You can talk if you want, because I know sometimes fans get upset when people are talking. I'm like, no, it means they're in a good mood. They want to talk to someone, converse to. So I just want it to be an experience that people experience, you know?
When I was at the Unconvention, I was talking to my friend, because the whole entire time I was there, it was like both a job and an enjoyment for me, because I was planning on writing about it, but like I was talking to him, and the whole entire time I was just like saying, giving points that I enjoyed about the show and points that I didn't like about the shows. And he agreed with most of my points, and he had his own comments here and there, and we disagreed on some things, but it was dope nonetheless. So
it's also it's a time for people to kind of be together. So
you're hanging out. And that's the thing. It's like, if you don't want people to talk, do you want them to scream during your set too? Because it's just like, can you imagine if like you were playing a show and everyone just stood there nice and quiet? Like, that'd be bumming, I think.
We played some of those and you're like, I think I can hear my shoes squeaking. Oh God.
Before we start logging off for this little interview, though, I do want to show off the new record, because I just got my copy in the mail, and I think it'd be pretty dope to kind of show it off before the official release date of, you said, August 11th, correct? Yeah. All right, let me grab it. Okay. So, this is Rot. In My Skin, I got the vinyl and the CD version, because the package was pretty cheap. You know, I'm not trying to be a salesman here, but $50 for a poster, a CD, a patch, and a vinyl is pretty damn good deal. So I hopped.
Good deal.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to say I'm not like the collector hunter. I normally don't go out and buy multiple formats of shit. So, but a deal's a deal. So I scooped it up. But it comes with a little insert with the lyrics. You probably have to spin it a little bit to read it.
All our lyrics are usually also online on my website.
Oh, I didn't know you guys had a website, but that's probably a good thing to know.
bestialmouths.com.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the modern age with Bandcamp, I always assume that every band's like official website now is Bandcamp, you know. But we also got the record in here. It's on black classic label. But yeah, where is that available on Negative Gain?
Yeah, Negative Gain is who produced it, so it's like Bandcamp, Negative Gain, and then so just go through and everything.
Gotcha. And then does it also come with the poster? Or is that limited for only the first couple of purchases?
The poster is part of the VIP package, which is now getting what you got. So we have the poster, and then you also get the hat.
Yeah, I got both posters. I think I have the other one tucked away somewhere. I hung up the one, and I was just like, oh, every band gets one spot on the wall behind me, so you got your spot.
Super cool. Yay! That makes me happy.
So, before we head out, though, Lynette, I just want to ask you, is there anything else that you want to mention or talk about? It's something that I always do for every band.
It's super cool that you asked, but a lot in my brain. I think I never know what people want to know, so I'm like, I don't know.
You wait for the questions to come to you.
So. Basically, kind of like it's hard for me to post because I'm like, what do people want to know? I don't know. That I ate ice cream today or what?
All right, guys. Once again, I thank you for joining us on the Brutal Resonance podcast. I'm Steve. That's Lynette, and we'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.